The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here are your co-hosts, Sandy W., Bruce H., and the Monty'man.
Yeah! Welcome aboard, all you scallywags and scallywagettes, to the world's oldest recovery talk and positive music station, broadcasting on the internet 24/7 for you. Wow! What's going down? Hey, Sandy.
Good morning, Monty.
Sandy's here. Hey, Bruce.
Hey.
What's happening? What's happening?
It's just the same old thing.
Oh, I know. It's just life is just
Different day.
different days.
Whoever
same
said these
drudgery.
was the golden years might have been telling a falsehood.
Well, I've got some awesome news. Awesome.
Let's hear it.
Awesome news. Okay, so many of you know that are listening, and thank you. We've been I literally flooded with emails since last week. Last week, I got two notices. One notice said that we had too many sound files on our server because we have over 3,000 shows. Wow. And we were overloading the server, and that wasn't a good thing. And so they were going to abolish us altogether and suspend our account. And I'm like, no. And then, on the heels of that, there was a organization, one of the largest treatment providers in the world, which I will not mention their name, because there are a lot of large ones. But these guys were very influential, and we were so happy to have them sponsoring Take 12 Radio for 2 years. 2 years they sponsored us. And we were told that they were going to re-up in November. I was told that in September. And they decided not to in October, but didn't decide to tell me. So when November 1st came along and the check was due, nothing showed up. So I'm like, what's going on? Because we really count on that, because it isn't free to do what we do. Nobody gets a paycheck here, but it costs money to broadcast. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And I wrote these folks and I said, yeah, how much I appreciated them being with us for 2 years. And if there's anything we've done, because when you lose a huge sponsor like that, it's not something you should take lightly. That's just good business sense. And you want to find out if there's something you can improve on or something you can change or what do you need to do? And they went dark on me, and they still haven't responded. So I thought, you know what? All right, here's where I need to practice some acceptance and some serenity, and so I went to the Lord in prayer about it. And gosh, what do you want me to do? And I just felt like He was telling me, just be still and know that I am God. And so I did. I was still. And I sat out here on this porch swing thing and just listened for a couple of hours, and tears coming down my face, and I felt like the Lord was saying, go ahead and let people know that you may have to change your programming. And so I did. I wrote a thing on Facebook and all of our social media, LinkedIn and Google Plus and all that stuff, and let them know that we were going to be changing our programming, and all of our files were going over to YouTube. YouTube is free, and we have a lot of our archives on YouTube because we have a couple of versions of our show. We have the YouTube version because some people just like to go there and listen to the shows, even though there's not a lot of pictures and stuff. Sometimes there are. And then we have an MP3 link. Well, the MP3 links were what was associated with our server, this other server we had, and which we couldn't afford any longer. And so I let everybody know that it was going only to YouTube from now. We're not going to quit broadcasting. We're still on the air, but you're going to have to go to YouTube, and I'll send you the link every time we have a show. And, so if you're listening to us on YouTube, folks, you won't miss a beat. You won't miss a beat. But our workshops that we have, Walking Through the Big Book, Walking Through the 12 and 12, both with Chris S., and Emotional Sobriety with Dr. Alan Berger, the author of Emotional Sobriety, things like that. Those workshops were going to go bye-bye because they were on that server, and we couldn't afford to keep that server. And so it's a long process in transferring those and making those into YouTubes and things like that. Actually, Walking Through the Big Book is on YouTube now. So it's kind of a mess. And I was just like, wow. And lo and behold, I get another call like 2 days later. And it's by a person that has been a friend of Take 12 Radio's for many, many years. And his name is, and I don't say this, I don't want to embarrass him, but I do have to thank him on the air. Roger McDermott from Huntington Beach, California. He's the owner of JMR Consultants, LLC. JMR stands for Jesus My Rock. Oh, wow. And he said, I will replace the sponsorship finances that you lost from that other organization.
God bless him.
And so he stepped right in, and he started processing the finances today. And so we'll have them in about a week, and then he's committing to a monthly amount as well. Roger, thank you. Lord bless you. I am telling you, God has got your back. When the day looks the darkest, and all your efforts and all this stuff that you think that you're supposed to be doing for God, first of all, you may be wrong. But if you've gotten confirmation from other wise people and you are doing God's work, He will take care of you. He will take care of it. And so I contacted our server today. I was on the phone when Bruce came into the studio, and we arranged it. Those files are intact, in place, and will stay there. All those workshops, and we will have those, and we'll also be on YouTube. And because of Roger, we are now on Podomatic. iTunes is the number one podcasting host, if you will, in the world. Podomatic is number 2. The thing about Podomatic that's great is that when you post on Podomatic, it automatically goes to iTunes as well. So now Take 12 Radio is not only on Podomatic, but we're also on iTunes. So get out your iPhones, get out your Androids, and you can listen to us like you always could before, but even easier. So here's how you do Podomatic. You go to Take 12 Recovery Radio, and that's the number 12. Take 12 Recovery Radio on your computer. Yeah. Podomatic.com. Podomatic.com. Take 12 Recovery Radio.podomatic.com.
I don't have to worry about it.
No, I know, because you're not online. And you go there, you'll see our page, and you'll see our shows, and we'll rotate. We're not going to keep 3,000 shows in archives on Podomatic. That would be very, very expensive. But we'll have a good number of them up there, and then we'll rotate the oldest ones out. But you can download them now on your devices. You can, so you can listen to them and not take up data. You can subscribe to the shows via iTunes if you'd like as well. And so we're on Podomatic. What's cool about Podomatic is it's just a cool program. I mean, it's just awesome. It shows us all our statistics. It shows us who's listening, where part of the country. I mean, it's better than Google Analytics. It's just amazing. There's so much that I don't want to bore you with, listeners. Technical wise, as far as a broadcaster goes, it is really beneficial for me. So we actually have improved our broadcasting ability. It hasn't gone down. And much of it is thanks to the good Lord working through Roger McDermott.
Thank you,
McDermott.
Rob.
Yeah, Roger, thank
Awesome,
you.
Roger.
Thank you. JMR Consultants, LLC. And we may be going down to L.A. in the very near future.
All of us.
Do you want to come?
No.
And recording some shows with Roger and some of the folks down there. He's starting his third recovery church down in the LA area.
Oh.
And so we might be doing some broadcasting from there. So that'll be exciting. Tippity-doo-dah.
Tippity-doo-dah.
Hooray! So all you folks out there that were praying for us, and I mean, one lady wrote me, she goes, "Oh my gosh, no, I just found Recovery Radio. I don't go away." It broke my heart, and though weren't going to go away, we were still going to be on YouTube like we have been for years, but people don't like change, and if they're used to clicking a button instead of going to YouTube, they may not go to YouTube. People are just kind of interesting like that, right?
Right.
We just, your grocery store closes that you've been going to for years and a new one opens, you go, I'm not going.
You know when you said during this conversation that it's doing God's work, and you think you are, and you're
And you may
wrong.
not be?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
may not be. Being the good little Calvinist that I am, do you know what I think the work is? Learning to live out of the blessings, what He's already provided.
Yeah, because if you don't learn to live out of the blessings, then what you're doing may be just on your own power.
That's right. Yeah,
And that'll work for a while.
And even our righteousness is like filthy rags. So it's learning to live out of His blessings. And I read Ephesians. That's my little take on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Good.
hard for us.
It is. It is. I was looking at some stuff, and I don't want to bring anybody down, but just as a point of reflection, there's way too many people that die too young.
Yes.
Now I know our days are numbered and blah blah blah. All that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I was just this thing with Paris, France. It just got me thinking, and for whatever it's worth, I'm not even sure why I'm supposed to share this. Like I said, I don't want to bring anybody down, but I just thought I'd mention it. Paul Walker, the sudden death of this charismatic Fast and Furious actor. He was in Fast and Furious series. Shocked the world after leaving a charity event in California. Walker got a lift from race car driver friend Roger Rodas. Both were killed in the fiery crash. Paul was only 40 years old. Corey Monteith, the character on the Fox TV show Glee, was often in a battle with addiction and depression, and an abrupt end to his career at age 31. Heath Ledger, who passed away, he played the Joker in Batman. He is played in The Dark Knight and a bunch of other films. He was only 28.
Oh.
Heath Ledger. Jim Morrison, 27. Kurt Cobain, 27. John Ritter, 54. Whitney Houston, 48. Bruce Lee, he was 32. Brandon Lee, his son, 28. River Phoenix, 23. Jim Henson, 53. John Belushi was only 33. Marvin Gaye was 44. Amy Winehouse was 27. Too young.
Yes.
Too young. Many of those, not all of them, but many of those, it was drug-related or depression-related. And I don't know why I was thinking about these guys. But listen, you guys, all you out there that are listening that are kind of playing on the edge of life, you think you're young and you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof and you're just kind of, got your big toe right over the edge. You're not completely falling off the edge, but you're playing with fire. Can I just encourage you, back away from the edge?
Get in the middle.
Gosh, back away from the edge. Because you are not exempt from fatally wounding yourself in one way or another. And we want you around. We want you around. Well, we're going to listen to a story today about somebody that had her Bigfoot over the edge and probably
Fell
into the pit. And she didn't die way too young. She's still with us. And she's going to be sharing her experience, strength, and hope, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. And that is her own Sandy W. And we're gonna go to the break and come back. And Cecil's got some trivia for us. And then we're going to hear Sandy's story. So let me tell you something. If you will back away from the edge, if you'll just be willing, by the way, that's next week's topic, willingness. If you're just willing to let your Creator pull you away from the brink of disaster, that's good enough to make a beginning. Mm-hmm. To make a beginning. And some of you need to make a beginning. You've never done it. And you need to make a beginning. So we're going to hear the story of somebody who became willing and how she became willing and what happened and what God did in her life. So don't go away, my friends. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, look! Running around in the meetings, gobbling up gallons of bad coffee, flapping his gums wherever he can bring a smile to a hurting face. It's Slogan Man! We know cute little platitudes and sayings on the wall in a 12-step meeting won't keep you sober, but they sure will make you think, consider, and even laugh your way through an otherwise crappy day. Can't wait to get to your home group to hear those slogans over and over and over and over again? No need to. Pick up a copy of the 12-Step Gazette and join the adventures of Slogan Man. Visit www.12stepgazette.com and subscribe today. Slogans and platitudes are no substitute for working the steps, but Slogan Man is very cool.
Free by the Sea is a drug and alcohol recovery center located in beautiful Ocean Park, Washington. This facility is amazingly gorgeous, but what's even more amazing is the integrity of the staff and the treatment provided for those wishing to recover from narcotic and alcohol addiction. The folks at Free by the Sea have a passion for presenting the solution to addiction for you or your loved one. To speak with an admission specialist, visit freebythesea.com or call toll-free 800-272-9199. This place is simply amazing.
Okay, everybody. I just thought because so many people are so health conscious these days, you know, they want to take care of their health, that we should play a little unhealthy fast food trivia. So I have a very special little ditty to play for you to introduce this week's Take 12 Trivia.
Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. Oh, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut.
Okay. Cecil does it again. All right, Take 12 Trivia this week is brought to you by Freedom Interventions, freedominterventions.com. If you're in need of an intervention, you probably won't call them, but if you are a loved one or a family member of, I can't think of anybody better locally here than Matt Brown at Freedom Interventions out of McMinnville, Oregon. Visit his website at freedominterventions.com. All right. Fast food I guess we're doing fast food trivia. Health conscious trivia, I suppose. So you get 4 questions and a bonus. Here's number 1. The United States as the biggest fast food market in the world. Which country comes in second? Here's your choices. India, England, Canada, or China?
I'm going to go with China.
China? What do you say there?
India, Canada,
England, or China?
I'll say China.
China? You guys are correct. Wow. That's one. You may win the booby prize.
I'm not playing no more.
In 1993, the average fast food cheeseburger had 333 calories. How many calories does the average fast food cheeseburger have today in 2015? Here's your choices: 450, 590, 630, or 720.
Good God.
590.
590?
Good gosh.
450, 590, 630, 720.
720.
Well, Bruce, sorry, buddy. Sandy is correct. It's 590 calories, the average cheeseburger. Don't you feel fortunate, Bruce?
I am.
Sandy's ahead. Okay, question number 3.
Woman power.
That's right. To maintain a healthy diet, most nutritionists recommend limiting fast food to, here are your choices: once a week, once a month, once a year, or never.
Never.
Limiting fast food to.
Well, never.
They'd probably say once a week. but
Once a week?
I would say once a month.
Once a month. Oh, Sandy's right. It is once a month. Bruce, sorry.
Well, I would have said once a month. I was talking for Elmer.
Number 4. What is the biggest...
Oh, no, it's Cecil, isn't it?
Cecil.
Elmer.
What is the biggest selling restaurant food in the United States?
I don't care.
Nor does anybody else. Is it French fries, hamburgers, pizza, or ice cream?
French fries.
Bruce says French fries. What do you think, Sandy?
Pizza.
Pizza? Well, Sandy, sorry.
Oh, I knew it.
Bruce is correct. It is French fries. Yes, indeed. All right, here's your bonus for the booby prize.
Oh, it's 2 and 2, Sandy.
No, I only missed one.
Yeah, but that's all you have to miss to get 2.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, Lord have mercy. According to the University of California, Berkeley, for the average dieter, which food is hardest to give up when dieting? Is it French fries, chips, cheese, or butter?
Chips.
French fries, chips, cheese, or butter? Bruce?
I think it's the French fries.
Think it's French fries? You guys want to take a second stab at it? Too late. It's cheese. Cheese.
Well, that would be for me, but
Cheese.
I'm so different.
Cheese is,
You
is
know,
the hardest.
I guess it would be for me too, but I
just can't.
thought it was the salt.
I was looking for sugar because usually it's the sugar, but cheese doesn't have.
Cheese. I love cheese.
Yeah.
And I can't eat it.
I'm not supposed to. I'm
Yeah.
lactose.
Well, that does it for this week. All right,
I
we'll be
didn't
right
think
back.
it was possible for me to be an alcoholic. I was 24 with a good career. I thought I was too smart and that alcoholism only happened to middle-aged men and celebrities. I thought something else was making me sick, shaky, and afraid to face people. Then I found AA and discovered it wasn't something else, it was alcohol. AA helped me find a new life. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
You're listening to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, the best in recovery talk and positive music.
Hello there, this is the Monty'man from Take 12 Radio. You know, men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Well, Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia is a Greek word for healing. Traditionally, classic Greek medicine was holistic. It viewed the mind and body as one. At Therapia Addiction Healing Center, they have developed a holistic healing approach to treating addiction that is designed to bring into balance the mind, body, and the spirit. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, helping people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others.
All right, welcome back to the show. You've tuned into take12radio.com on your internet dial. Also found now at take12recoveryradio.podomatic.com. That little bumper music there, did that sound familiar?
Yeah, but I couldn't place it.
That's the Bee Gees. I Started a Joke.
Oh, I love that song.
I love that song, and yet it's so depressing.
I know.
But I used to identify with that. I thought that I was the loser of losers. Probably you did too at one time, right?
Right.
So, Sandy, tell us what was going on. I mean, you're sitting here today with a big smile on your face. I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know you back when things weren't going so well.
That's a good thing.
What was going on? Tell us what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today.
Okay, well, let me start out with, my name is Sandy Finley Campbell Thompson Graves Hurt Kelly Weir.
Wow.
And I would have been a good Al-anon, but those husbands made me drink too much. You know, this is something that's always amazed me about Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's great.
Is they say we're not a glum lot.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we laugh at just probably wouldn't be too funny to some people. And having that many husbands isn't really too funny.
I think it is.
Now, that last one, that Weir, he's been with me for 18 years this December. And
Wow, he's a keeper.
he's a keeper, and he has a program, and he has a God, and that's why we're still together.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. What it was like? Well, I was an only child in a little town in Marysville, California, and my father had one goal, and that was to have one child and not spoil her. And my mom was the most wonderful person in the world.
Marysville, is that in the mountains?
By Sacramento.
Okay,
Valley.
yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was the best. I mean, she was hugs and kisses, and I knew she loved me, but my father was I can't swear on this show, can I? I won't swear.
Okay.
Anyway.
But he was.
He was undemonstrative, never had anything good to say, and I was never good enough. And we lived, when I got a little bit, and they drank. I have to throw that in. And it was, they were middle class, very intelligent. My dad was a resident engineer for the state. My mom wound up being a placement officer for the law school in Davis. But they drank, and it always was a problem. Christmas, one of them would come home late from a Christmas party at work, and it would hit the fan, and sometimes Mom and I would wind up in a motel, and it was just not good. So I didn't want to do that.
Was he physically abusive?
Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart.
And they stayed together for a long time. But anyway, that's what alcohol does to women, too. So, high school, I couldn't be a part of. I mean, I ran kind of with the in crowd, but I was allowed to go out one night a week. And while the kids in town were running around doing all the fun stuff, I was home digging post holes and irrigating, and I hated it. I just hated it. And so when I was around those friends, I never felt good enough.
Now, you can't see it, listeners, but Bruce is handing Sandy a pillow. I don't know why. Oh, for her back.
Yeah, she looked like her back was bugged.
I thought he was going to tell me. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I was thinking.
It's like Cry Me a River.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was just on the other night, and there was a pillow scene in there where he
Put it over her
snuffed
face.
out the Native American guy. Anyway,
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Anyway, let me tell you about my first drunk. I was in high school. My father was very, very strict. And I had a girlfriend whose boyfriend worked for Rayleigh's or some big store, and they had a Christmas party. And he had a brother that was home from the Army, and it was a blind date. and they picked us up at her house in town. I lived way out in the country. And we went to this party, and of course it was at a banquet thing in a restaurant. And I must have been, 17? But back, way, way back in those days, I was sashaying right up to the bar and getting drinks from the bartender and flirting with the old bald men and ticking off their wives and dancing and guzzling screwdrivers. Now, in fact, I could probably swear on a Bible that not once from that day forward did I ever have one drink, ever. My father told me I could probably drink more if I'd learn how to sip. I had a policeman tell me one time, I think you have a drinking problem. Well, more than one time. But sipping was not in my vocabulary. Anyway, this poor goofus that took me out that night supposedly took me home. I came to the next morning in my own bed in my house. Couldn't find my purse and could not remember anything except drinking a lot of water and seeing some kind of a screen in front of my face. And that's a bad feeling.
Right.
Which I had.
Losing time like that, yeah.
Blacking out.
Yeah.
Many, many times. And I woke up in some pretty strange places. But anyway, I didn't have my purse. Finally, this guy called and he said, I just want to make sure you're all right. And I said, well, where's my purse? He said, you threw it in that old Buick in the front yard and said you were going to sleep in the car. And I said, we don't have a Buick. And he said, well, I got you up to the front door, but I about broke my neck on those stairs. And I said, well, you don't have any stairs. Where did you take me? And he says, I don't know, some old farmhouse out in the country.
Oh, no.
So my girlfriend called that afternoon, and the whole time I was just sick. I was sick because I drank too much, but I was sick because of not knowing what happened.
Yeah.
It just happened that this was her aunt and uncle's house, and they finally found my purse the next morning. But that night, and this is where the humor comes in, here's this old guy and his wife upstairs in their bedroom sleeping good and sound, and this young girl walks up, flips on the bedroom light, and starts taking her clothes off. And that was me.
Oh, my word.
I was going to go to bed. And I was in a blackout, but I have been told many times that I can talk, function like I'm stone sober, but I don't remember anything. And they didn't know what to do, and I wouldn't give them my name, so they called the police. Back in the day, who knows what I told the cops, but they drove me to my house and let me out of the car, and my mom and dad never found out about that.
Wow.
But the old guy got a thrill. Get out of here, honey.
Look, Martha, we have company.
And that was the story of my drinking career. I'm going to keep this short.
You were a blackout drinker?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And then I found drugs, and I thought that would help me so I could keep drinking what I drank.
Right.
But it just made me a wired blackout drinker.
Yeah.
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 So as time went on, my drinking stayed the same, and I went through divorce, and actually I had a baby that I had to give up for adoption my first year of college, and that was, the guilt and remorse started piling up, and it just kept piling. I had 2 beautiful boys, and I kept moving around. I divorced, I don't know how many of those husbands in that length of time, and took the kids to Sacramento, and I was a daily drinker. I held a job, but I started getting DUIs and, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And my ex-husband finally came to me, and he convinced me in a moment of clarity that what I was doing with those kids was bad. And he took them. And he had insurance, he had blah, blah, blah. But that was the end as far as, and I start getting choked up about that because that was when it just didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
My kids were gone. I was a lousy person, a lousy mother. And I just went into the alcohol and the drugs with a vengeance. And I moved to Reno, and that was good for me. I mean, you didn't have to stop. I got a job as a bartender, and I drank while I was bartending, and I drank the rest of the hours that I wasn't. I ran with a bunch of drug dealers that were getting shot right and left and killed, and came back to Sacramento. And through this time, I just kept getting arrested. You know, possession for sales, DUIs. And of course, I never did what was the right thing. I mean, I would drive up to my probation officer in a pink NAS Rambler with no driver's license, and he'd walk out the door and go, "What the hell are you doing?"
Wow.
You know, I just didn't care. And there were two things that changed me. One, I call my church walk. I came back to Oregon, I came to Oregon, thought I would start over. Wasn't going to drink, wasn't going to use. And within probably 40, 50 days of being here, I was back in jail.
So you were doing the typical geographical move.
Oh, all over the place.
Yeah.
Different men, different town, different whatever. And it didn't take long, and I was arrested again. And I actually went through the first inmate recovery program they had at the Linn County Jail. And that got that little bit of, they brought in AA meetings, so I got a touch of that and a touch of recovery.
Was that your first experience with an AA meeting?
I had been ordered to go many times.
Yeah,
and I think I maybe went twice and sat through long enough to get a slip signed and slunk out the door.
Sure,
right?
Sure, yeah.
But this was clean and sober in the the jail.
Right.
And these people were happy. It was just strange. Anyway, I got out of jail, and this is my church walk story, and I told it on my 24th birthday a couple Sundays ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, which you celebrated 2 weeks ago.
Right.
24 years, yeah.
And I'm getting tears in my eyes now, and it got me at that birthday meeting because I had been up for 3 or 4 days, and I was a beauty. I was a beauty. I had on a real short skirt and a blouse down to here, no bra, a leopard vest fur thing, and my hair had been kind of pushed back into place for 3 days, and my false eyelashes were flipping out on the ends. And, the makeup had been piled on and piled on and piled on.
Sounds like a drunk Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And runs in my pantyhose, and I always wore spike heels, which I lost all the time. I always lost my shoes. Anyway, one of them had a cracked heel or something, so it was kind of hard to walk. And I needed a drink, and everybody was passed out. And it was Sunday morning. And so I decided to walk to Pop's Branding Iron. And it was quite a ways.
That's a restaurant for those who aren't from here. Yeah.
With a bar that opens,
with a bar,
opens early. So I'm walking along on this beautiful, sunshiny Sunday morning, looking like I looked and feeling like the worst piece of scum in the world. And these families were driving by me going to church. And I don't know how many churches I passed, but I think God must have thrown in a couple that weren't even really there because it seemed like just every other block I was going past a church. And I was cussing God. It's that incomprehensible demoralization.
Sure.
I hated myself. God could not love me. I was a piece of dirt on the ground. And you would think that feeling that would have been my bottom. But it wasn't. It just, I don't know, I guess maybe, for me, the worse I felt, the worse I got, if you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
The more booze, the more drugs.
Yeah.
Felt worse. More booze, more drugs.
Just piling it on. Yeah.
And I'm going to make this short. The last time I was in jail, one of the gals in there said, the next time I get arrested, I'm going to not have a public defender. That's the day the light went on for me.
Really?
I thought, what? You just keep doing it and keep saying the next time? It's got to stop. And I came out and I started going to AA meetings. And because of certain people in those rooms. Marv was one of them. Norma Rose. I can't remember all of them. They would sit there and say, just let us love you until you can love yourself. You're one of God's kids. You have to forgive yourself first. And the process began.
Which really resonated with you because you didn't love yourself.
Oh.
What was that like to hear that and think, well, I don't love myself?
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
In fact, I've said in meetings before, every time somebody said the name of God
Right.
in a meeting for a long time, my skin crawled because I wasn't good enough for God to even look at me.
Right.
You know? And little miracles kept happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back out once, walked into a bar that I'd been in every night for years. Nobody even noticed I was gone. But AA people kept calling me. And they were everywhere. I'd go in a store and they were there, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be deciding between a bag of potato chips or to go over to the beer and wine aisle. And a card would fall out of a magazine. And one of those God cards.
Oh, wow.
You know? And so I had a sponsor that was absolutely the best. And she pounded into me that I was one of God's kids. And that I wasn't bad. I was sick. And that God forgave me for every single thing I did wrong. And once I did that fourth step and got it all out of me and asked God to forgive me for all of those things, it wasn't like a light bulb, it was like a sunrise, if that makes any sense. Just beautiful. And
Did you see the fact, Sandy, that once you took the fourth step and that you went with that and that you were forgiven, that your heart was different somehow?
oh, it wasn't just my heart. It was every single molecule was full of gratitude. And one of the things that I did do, I mean, we did the third step on my knees, but I had been going to a little church in North Albany, and I chose for my third step to be rebaptized. I was baptized when I was a small kid.
Uh-huh.
But
that was part of your turning your will and life over
Right.
the care of God, was to get rebaptized.
and some of the
Wow.
people from the program were there, and my sponsor was there.
Oh, how special.
And it was a very, very, very special thing. But I don't know. I need to wrap this up. But
No, you're fine.
Sometimes it's very hard for me to remember what I was like. And sometimes I get these flashes of memories of horrible, horrendous things that I did when I was out there. And I get that icky feeling, you know, like, oh my God, how did I do that? But right behind that is everything I've learned. And I know that I need to forgive myself, get that out of my mind, and think about the wonderful things that are happening to me today. You know, I'm retired now. I'm able, for once in my life, to start working with people, and I thank God every single day for the people that held me up when I couldn't hold myself up. I mean, I looked the same way when I came into AA as I did that day I was walking down that street. I was a mess. And it didn't matter to anybody, especially to God. I mean, he knew what I'd been through, and I don't know. It's hard for me sometimes to put stuff into words, but it's been a miracle, and it's been quite a ride. I mean, I've jumped out of airplanes. I went to New York. I've done these things that all I did before was sit inside a dark bar and say, one of these days, you know, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a movie. That's
Yeah.
how bad it was. I mean, I didn't do anything except sit in the black, dark bars.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me. I didn't do it. God did it for me.
Let me ask you, when you started this with your sponsor, when you started this step work, process. And you talked about being rebaptized at your third step. But was there a particular moment in that process more than any other that God became really real to you and that you really understood that he did love you unconditionally? Was there a particular step or?
No. When it happened for me is when I was on my knees doing the third step prayer holding her hand.
That's when it happened.
And I just shook.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was, I blamed my dad. I blamed everybody for everything I had done. A lot of resentments, a lot of blame, and a lot of guilt and a lot of remorse. And that's when that just was gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still had a lot of work to do on myself because I wasn't fixed. But all of that dissipated to the point where I could start working on myself, and I was lucky. In fact, it was Marv's ex-wife that was my sponsor.
Oh, wow.
I actually went through the 12 steps and knew there was something wrong and went back to step 3 and did that, and that's when that thing took place in my life. And it was, I believe at the time, I asked God into my life as my Lord and my Savior. And my life got flipped over.
No, it's...
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because there's a lot of people running around, God saved them, but he's not their Lord. He's not... the third step says we turned our will and our life over to the care of God. So if we do that, that means our life's no longer ours.
Right.
And so he's not just one who saves us, but he's also now in charge.
But it's real easy to grab the reins every once in a while.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so when you do grab the reins these days, do you get some interesting lessons along the way? Like Sandy had told you that was probably not a good idea.
I was explaining this to one of the little gals out at the kids' jail, whatever it's called. I was telling her God gave us free will. She wrote out her first step. I said, God gave us free will. You can go to the right, to the left, or straight ahead. And if you pray and put God in charge of your life and you start going to the right and you should be going to the left, the way I know is I actually get a sick feeling in my stomach. Just kind of almost a little bit nauseated. Mm-hmm. And it's like he's tapping on my shoulder going, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, you'll know. Because basically you're good. And you're God's kid, and he's in charge. And if you start going off the path, you're going to feel it. And I do.
I think, and I've experienced that too, to this day, even on silly issues.
Yeah.
Which some people might think were ridiculous and insignificant. Like, should I go home this way or should I go home this way from church? I'll go this way. And then thinking, you know what? This doesn't feel right. And I'll turn around and go the other way. And then something will happen. Like there was an accident on that road or something. You know what I mean? Something will happen. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that comes from actually having a relationship with the living God and his spirit living in us. And now now recovery isn't, Bruce and I were talking about this earlier, recovery isn't about powerlessness anymore. Now it's about power, because you have when you receive God into your life and you turn your will and your life over to him, even if you don't understand him completely, you don't have to be a theologian or any of that kind of stuff, or even go to church, but you turn your will and your life over to the care of God and you ask him into your life, and the Spirit of God comes to live within you. It doesn't set well. We don't, if I may use the term, we don't sin very well anymore.
No.
We got away with stuff before and it didn't even bother us. Now we pull that kind of stuff. If you've got God's Spirit living in you, you're going to know.
What Sandy's talking about is very hard to live with. That happened with me with Pete. And when I refused and didn't want to have anything to do with him, this feeling in my stomach appeared, And it stayed there until I made my amends.
Yeah.
I mean, it stayed there.
Yeah.
Right. And thank God for that, though, right?
Oh, I know. Because I'm still not that smart. You know, there are times when I don't know what I'm doing
Right.
or whether I should do it or not.
Right.
And I really would like it if God would just slap me up alongside the head and tell me out loud, you know. But instead, you have to get quiet and you have to listen.
I heard something the other day. It was we allow our circumstances to create our idea of God instead of God allowing God to create our idea of our circumstances. You know what I mean? We tend to think, okay, well, this is how I see God based on my circumstances, and instead of letting God help us see our circumstances differently. And a lot of people will do that. They will form an opinion about God based on their feelings, based on the happenings going on around them. That's why I don't like that word happy, because that's what it means, happenings going on around you. I want more than that, right? I don't, because I'm not always going to be happy, but I can have that serenity knowing that God has got my back because he's helping me to look at my circumstances differently instead of allowing my circumstances to define him. Right?
Right.
And when you were walking by those churches and you were getting mad, you were mad at you were mad at God. I mean, your circumstances were defining God instead of the other way around.
Oh, yeah.
Watch the power in this. Sandy told a beautiful story about what happened to her and how these circumstances and her father not giving her the love that she wanted, and and you drink and then you remorse and then you drink on top of that, and it just seems to pile on.
Yeah.
Well, our circumstances no longer have anything to do with our drinking. Now, them circumstances were right there and they helped a lot. We can argue whether they were justified or rationalized or what they were. But today, circumstances have nothing to do with it. Okay?
It's true.
And that's the coolest thing in the world, to be free.
Isn't it?
For the first time in our lives.
I know. It's awesome.
And that's what they meant in the book, in the big book, when they kept using the term recovered. Because I have recovered. I mean, I'm still in the game, but I recovered. With God's help, the ball's been recovered.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm not still in the game, but
still an alcoholic, still an addict, but I am recovered from the obsession.
That's right.
There it is.
That's exactly what you're recovered from.
Yeah, the obsession has been removed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's amazing.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. And by the way, during the parade, the Veterans Day parade the other day, I was watching the motorcycles. They're always the very first ones, and there's like no end to them. And I saw some Victory motorcycles.
Oh.
I don't think I ever really looked close. Those things are cool.
Oh, gosh.
Sandy's husband, Joe, has a Victory motorcycle. And he's still paying it off, or she's paying it off.
Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, he's paying it off.
I thought, what a cool... They are really, really pretty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Joe's is red.
Joe's is red.
Yes.
It's a red one. But your relationship with Joe, it's been a long time now. You're working,
and it's going to last a lot longer because Joe has to pay that off.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're working with people. You're going out to the juvenile facility and talking to these gals and stuff.
The lifers in prison too. I go to the prison.
Does that is that a combination of bittersweet, sweet? Breaks your heart, but is also very healing and therapeutic for you.
It's healing and therapeutic, but it is so heartbreaking. I mean, one of the gals that was coming to our Wednesday meeting escaped. 2 gals, but only one of them did I know.
Yeah.
And she was actually in the pre-release stage. She'd gotten her high school diploma. All was going good.
Right.
Now she's looking at 5 years. So, I mean, I was 45 years old, I think, when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can't take my God and my program and stuff it down somebody's throat,
right,
and make them swallow it and live it is hard. And they're so young.
Because you want to do that, but
yeah.
then again, they'll just throw up if you...
Yeah, or bite my hand off. Which is probably what they do. They're pretty tough cookies, but it is. It's very... If I can just reach one in my lifetime, it will be worth it.
Okay, so what it's like today is you're doing that stuff. So share with the listeners. We got about 5 minutes left. Share with the listeners. This is... And I'm not asking Sandy to do this because she's boastful at all, but I want the listeners to know what you're doing. You come in from Scio, which is a few miles out of town, and with gas prices as they are today, it's not a short trip when you look at the gas prices. But you come in a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us what you do exactly.
Well, what do I do? Let's see, once a month I go to the OSP, to the prison.
Oregon State Pen?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
With the lifer guys there, and that's one of the most wonderful meetings. That's the oldest AA meeting in, without stopping, in any prison anywhere.
Oh, is it really?
Yes,
at Oregon
it
State
is.
Pen. Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's the oldest
consecutive, yeah.
Yeah, consecutive. If it's the oldest AA, it's just a little bit older than we are at Group 1. Anyway, I go there. I do a big book study at Oak Creek for the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sunday's usually my day for a Sunday meeting, and then I go visit the little gal that I'm sponsoring. She did her first step with me yesterday. I got a lady that I drive around on Friday that doesn't drive, and I do my neighbor's laundry, and I had a garden, and I've started an internet business, and I cook, I eat.
Yeah.
And I pray a lot.
What about Take 12?
Oh, and I come in here.
Yeah, you co-host the show with us?
I was really nervous about that because you guys are you're so spiritual.
Oh, please.
And the only reason I came back was because I beat him on a
trivia
question about the Bible.
Well, let me tell you, I'm no more spiritual than this piece of paper here.
In the beginning.
Without God.
I see, he remembers. I said, okay, I can do this.
I'm tickled to death that you have joined us here at Take 12 Radio. I really am. And I was telling Sandy off the air that we got several emails complimenting the show because of our new co-host. And I just, if you'd like to send Sandy a note, you can email her here at take12radio@comcast.net.
No, they can't do that.
Yes, they can. I mean, they can't. Don't listen to Bruce. Because, see, Bruce ain't nothing but that's all he is. Crying all the time. And it's TAKE, the number 12, radio@comcast.net if you'd like to drop her a line and share your thoughts on the show today. Sandy, you had mentioned Group 1. That's the largest Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in Lynn County. And it's been going, it's actually older than the traditions are. The traditions were written sometime after Group 1 was established.
Yeah, it's 1940.
Yeah, something like that.
Way back there.
Yeah.
A little bit older than me.
Right.
Not much.
Yeah, and for a small county, it's a pretty big county if you go out towards the desert. It goes pretty far. Yeah. But as far as population-wise goes, where the central population of Lynn County is, there are more AA meetings in this little piece of land than in some places in major metropolitan cities. It blows my mind how many there are.
Yep, and if you don't like one, you can always find another one.
There's tons of them.
There's
tons of them around. Bruce, you want to ask Sandy any questions or make any closing comments here? Or?
No,
don't pick on me.
I know Sandy and Joe pretty well, and I've heard her story several times, and it always, I don't know what to say, surprises me of what she went through. And now, Tim, I heard of something this time about step 3 and how this thing took place at that point. And I think it was because Sandy was the kind of a person that had been drug down the street long enough to where she didn't have much skin left.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was, I think she's seen the importance of it long before a man like me did. And it's not to say that that's how God uses us.
Right.
With you, your experience is your experience, and somebody else is going to have that. And
Right.
me, somebody is going to be defiant or something and stick through, and I'm going to be able to help them.
Miracles.
Yeah.
Every day.
Just think about that, Sandy. For the first time in our life, we're equipped to where God has taken our worst defect and made it our greatest asset.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard to even say.
So, because this show is not directly affiliated with any particular 12-step program, and there are certain liberties that we can take on this show, I'm going to ask you a very personal question, because it is a very personal question, but I think it ought never be private. Who is your higher power?
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know that your faith in him runs deep. I mean, look what he's done for you. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? And I always say, yes, it's a very private thing, but it should never, it's very personal, but it should never be so private that we can't share that, particularly if somebody, now there may be appropriate times you got to use wisdom, right?
Right.
But boy, when you're called on to be specific, it's okay to be specific.
That's correct.
And it's your story,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your
I'm
experience.
sticking to it.
There you go. All right, my friends, listen, thank you so much, Sandy, for coming aboard. Thank you, Bruce.
My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and remember, folks, go to take12recoveryradio.podomatic.com and follow us there. You can subscribe through iTunes there if you want to, or you can just click on follow and you'll be notified every time there's a new show that comes up. Help us to do that. It helps for our ratings, and it gets the word out more when you do that. What are you looking at me like that?
Good night, Joe.
Because there's too many things to automatic and I'm lucky I can work my phone half the time.
Yeah. Good for you. See, I refuse to get involved in that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
What can I say? Yeah, technology. Yes. Well, as long as you don't become a slave to it, like some folks.
Yeah.
I am. There's this new thing called. They call it. What do they call it? Instead of snubbing, I think it's fubbing.
Snubbing.
With an F. Like when you snub somebody, like you ignore them. And correct me if I'm wrong, people of the younger generation or technology generation. I think it's called fubbing. I think it's where when a family sits around together and nobody will talk to each other, they're all on their phones.
Oh,
and maybe they go out to dinner or something and they're all on their phones.
I call it rude.
It is rude.
So do I.
But they actually have a
and
techie,
they have to name it?
techie term. Yeah. I think it's called fubbing or something close to that. Somebody email me and tell me if I'm right.
Our next generation is going to be born with little stubby thumbs.
Well, there are people today
You're
that are
what?
having real
You're
difficult...
what's going to be born with thumbs? You're
stubby
pregnant.
thumbs. that are born, they're not born, but that are having problems and difficulties with their thumb movements.
And the back of their neck.
And they're
from
not even
looking
20,
down all the time.
They're not even 25 yet.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother story. All right, next week, the topic is willingness. Willingness. What is it? What is it not? Because that could be a little tricky. Bruce is already licking his lips.
Yes, I am.
All right, my friends. All right. Well, until our next broadcast, I want to say thank you again to Roger McDermott from Huntington Beach, California, of JMR Consultants, LLC. His banner is up on our partners page and on our website. Please visit our website for workshops and past shows. Visit our YouTube channel. Subscribe however you want to subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty'man along with Sandy and Bruce. And we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. See you later.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.